Morning and welcome to the Retirement Railroad 2.0 Workbench Wednesday, episode 58. I'm Steve, and today we have another decoder install, actually two decoder installs, and we're going to tackle it a different way, at least the video a different way. All right, 6-8 months ago, I acquired from Claude at Cowboy and Timberline two Stewart with Kato drive F3s, Burlington, and what they call the Graybacks. Now, Burlington in the late 40s bought some F3s in ABBA configurations and ABA configurations to haul their Zephyrs with. Well, the Burlington is a flatlands railroad, basically Chicago to Denver with no real steep grades. And they eventually learned that instead of 4 F units, or even 3 F units, they could haul the Zephyrs utilizing 2 E units. 2 E units horsepower was more than enough for what they needed to haul the longest Zephyr, the California Zephyr, to and from Chicago to Denver. So they converted these F3s repainted them gray instead of silver, and they became known as the Graybacks, and they were relegated to freight service. All right. So Claude had some engines he wanted to get rid of, and I said, you probably don't have anything I need. And he said, well, what do you need? I said, well, I'd model the Burlington. He says, well, I've got some Burlington. And I said, yeah, but I've got everything I need except the F3 Graybacks. And he chuckled and he says, that's exactly what I got. So for $100, I got an A and a B, and excuse me, an A and a B unit, and then he threw in the P2K E unit that I showed the decoder install on last week. So with that, let's take a look at what we got. And I have already substantially completed the A unit, but it's easy to see. We're going to take apart the B unit so you can see, because they're identical on the inside, the shell's the only difference. You'll be able to see what exactly I did, and I can explain it, and you can see the comparison. All right, so with that, let's switch our cameras over. And there's our A and B unit. We'll take this off. All right, and you can see the A unit is about done. And here is the B unit. And I've already loosened the shell, so it has come off. And here you can see the power board. Here that I've taken off of here and replaced with the decoder, plug and play decoder. So we'll zoom that in a little bit. And we can try zooming it in even a little bit more. All right, that should do it. All right, and it's very easy to do. Now, let's take a look at, we're going to turn this around so you can see front to front and back to back. Now, there's no light on here. The light board for the A unit simply had an extension right here that extended out to the nose for the light. Okay. Power to the motor is picked up with these tabs here, and here's the front and rear track power pickups. So to simply remove the light board, is 2 screws. And then plain with these tabs, these power tabs, and the 4 pickups. So the 4 pickups, first thing we do is we're going to snip those, snippy, snippy, right at the connection. And you have to snip them because they're not long enough to make it from here to the power pickup on the board. All right, so they have to have an extension added to them. And that's what I've already done on the A unit. And actually you could just pull these off and then snip them, make it a little bit easier. All right, so those are free. Yeah, well, I thought they were free. Now the only thing left is these boards, these tabs that pick up the power for the motor. And we're actually going to trim those off anyway, eventually. All right, so the board's off. Don't need it no more. Now you can see the inside. Now these Stewarts with Kato drives, there is no frame. The frame is this weight. And it's got the same mounting type system as an Athearn down here. So we're going to pull those plugs off. And the reason for pulling the motor is twofold. Although the power is not transmitted through the frame, I still find it desirable to insulate the motor from the frame. Alright, there we go. Now, let's get the shell out of the way. Let's take a look at a little bit of a comparison here. The way the scale sound speaker fits, if you look, it sticks up less than 1/8 of an inch. Now, it may or may not clear inside the shell. Well, I don't want to put it all together and find out it doesn't fit. All right, so what I did was I used the good old Dremel tool and cut an equivalent spacing, 1/8 of an inch or so, off of this frame, just above the truck. So now the speaker fits down in there. The truck is still free moving in all directions. And we're good to go with that. So now on the A unit, now that I have that done, I can go ahead and wire in the speaker. I've already done the extensions off the power pickups on the trucks and wired them into the board. And I've already wired in the motor. Okay, So right now, this plug and play 8 is wired for motor control and one front headlight. Okay. Now I'm going to add a couple more lights to this. But before I do, here's the piece I cut off, by the way, of the back. That's the thickness. Off the front, I cut a little away here so that this lower light will have a bulb behind it. Okay. I also, the coupler mechanism is real easy to deal with. Right here, there's just a little clip, and you press that in and push down, and that whole coupler mechanism will then release itself. Okay. Now it's a longer one for the light because it holds the bulb in it. I've gone ahead and drilled a smaller hole for a second bulb, but I'm going to use, instead of the 5mm that I have used here, I am going to use a 3mm that I have here, and it will go into the lower slot. So we're going to go ahead and put that back on, and it'll just slide right back up in there until it clicks. There it goes. I've also already put a KD coupler on and a little bit of styrene spacer so that it doesn't sag. All right. So the second bulb that I just had will go down in here. Right like that. And we have to put these wires, will come back here, and we'll go to F3. One will go to F3 and the other will come over back here, which is the common. Now the clips under here are part of the glazing or the glass for these portals. A little bit different. To get them off, you have to use like two small standard screwdrivers slid in, so you can get the front lifted up a little bit, and then do the same to the rear, or pry it enough to get a card or a strip of styrene between it so that it will release. Now for the fun part that I didn't anticipate. It looks like I'm going to have to cut away this portion from about here back. Okay. Let's go ahead and give it a try on the layout. Alright, so we pulled the motor, cut the little clippy things, power pickups, added wires, added the Kapton tape for insulating. Now we're getting ready to add some length to these power pickups. Alright, so hang tight. Actually, we can go ahead and add the board at this point. I gotta find the board. Alright, so we got everything wired except for the speaker. And it's very important. This is a step that if you're going to attempt to follow what I've done, my one word of advice is Tsunami2 speakers have a 2-watt amplifier. Most speakers, including the Scale Sound System speakers, only have 1 watt. So at this stage, if this was wired and I fired it up and the master sound and individual sound were set high, it will blow the speaker and or the amplifier on the board. So at this point, before I wire in the speaker, I'm going to take it over and program it and reduce the sound settings. So stay tuned and I will be right back. Okay, as you may be able to see, Power light is on, which means the Keep Alive's working just fine. Little blue light there. See, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's there.
Here's what I found.
Alright, last thing to do, wire in the speaker. Button it up. Let's go test it again. It's always good to test. All right, tests out great. So now it is time to button it up. That one's in. Snaps into place over here. Snap. Alright. Okay, let's take it over to the bench and pair it up with the A unit and do some run-bys. oh no, after running the AB unit together, I started to clean up, and lo and behold, I found 2 screws. And I'm going, oh crap. So I quickly got the B unit and took the shell back off, and the 2 screws were for the motor mount. Okay, and even though it's an Athearn type press-in mount, they have screws in the bottom. So I had to take the shell off so I could get the fuel tank cover off so I could put those screws back in, and it had loosened up. I had to repress everything back down into place, and that could have been a catastrophe down the road. So anyway, fixed. Okay, another successful DCC with sound installation, a Tsunami2, on both, one each for the F3 A and F3 B. Stewart the models with Kato drives. They sound sweet with those Tsunami2s and the scale sound speakers, so really happy with them. I've had them sitting around waiting to do this for a long time. So with that, I want to thank you for joining me here at the Retirement Railroad 2.0 Workbench Wednesday, episode 58. I'm Steve, and y'all have a great day. Bye now.